My name's Marina Pearson, and today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about how we can navigate these uncertain times with wisdom and grace. But before I get started, I just wanted to share a little bit about me and what's got me here and so forth. Well, my mission really is to help women, mums in particular, to stop suffering needlessly, and to help families as well with that. And one of the things that I've seen over time, some things that have really helped, is when I share what I already see and what I know of us human beings. Hang on a second. Yeah. Okay, no problem. Yeah. So, as I said, mild interruptions. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So, the next thing I wanted to share is a little bit about my journey, really. So I've done a lot of things right. I have traveled the world. I have created an amazing little soul. I have been on ITV this morning. I have written 3 books. One of them is The Joy of Being, which is for women in business, to help them stress less and live more. I have managed to get through suicidal episodes, eating disorder, and drug addiction, mild one, to come through all of that, to really have found a really place of peace. I usually work with mums to help them stress less and live more. And one of the things that I was doing before the lockdown was inviting mums over here to spend some time with me in my villa in Spain, and to help them just reduce the stress that they were experiencing. So that was basically sort of the intensives that I run for them. Aside from that, I have run workshops in the UK, and I've delivered a TEDx talk as well as lots of other talks as well. So I've been in this game of transformation for the last 14 years. And I've seen a lot, and I've experienced a lot, and I also know a lot about what works and what doesn't work. And so I came across an understanding 7 years ago that really transformed the way I saw life and saw the way I saw myself and the way I was working. Back then I was working very much based on methodology. Hang on a second. Yeah, sweetheart, if you want to play, you're going to have to do it downstairs because I'm recording something. Okay? So one of the things that I at the time when I came across the understanding I'm slightly going to share with you today was I was really stressed. I was wanting to make my business work, and it wasn't working, and it was just, there was a whole kind of, I don't know if you can resonate with this, just a lot of overwhelm and stress going on in my head. And at the time, on the outside, it looked like life was amazing. I was in a beautiful home in Hertfordshire. I had a wonderful husband. We were trying for a baby. You know, all my dreams were starting to be realized. And yet I felt completely stressed and overwhelmed on the inside. I had money in the bank. And so I got to question that. And there was part of me that was like, well, hang on a second. I've done all this work. Why is it I'm still feeling this way? And it was then that I had sort of this understanding show up in my life. And the understanding that I'm talking about is, some call it the inside out understanding, others call it the 3 principles, others call it the inside out nature of life. But primarily what it was really sharing was that we experience everything from the inside. In other words, that we cannot feel anything other than our thinking in the moment. And that was a real revolutionary moment for me, because what that really suggested was that any kind of feeling that I have had was that actually, in actual fact, that I was feeling that through my thinking, not because of the circumstances, not because of other people. And it really rang true for me, because I was like, well, hang on a second. When I'm in this situation, it's not always, I don't always feel that way. And when I'm with that person and they do that behavior, I don't always feel the same way. So what is actually really going on? So I started sharing this understanding with others, and that was really when my business took off. That was when I started to feel so much more quiet, and the capacity to be able to produce and be, especially in uncertain times, has been enormous for me. And so I've seen a lot of my old clients as well thrive in this time. And instead of feeling really overwhelmed with everything that's going on, they're actually taking this opportunity to create and navigate. So that's kind of a little bit about me, but I wanted to share a little bit about what I've come to see over the last 7 years around wisdom, and how actually the first insight that I had was we're built to navigate in the unknown. We're actually built for it. And that was major, was like, what? Because every time I was in the unknown, I had to plan, I had to know what was coming. It's a bit like, waiting for the bus to come and the bus doesn't come on time, and you're like, oh my God, what's happening? Well, that was me. I used to have to make sure that I knew what was happening in order for me to feel safe and secure. But unbeknownst to me, that's how most people feel. And I don't know if this is resonating with you or not, but I found that most of us like to know what's happening versus what's not happening, and versus being okay with not knowing. And actually, you can't create anything new in the known. It's absolutely impossible. So on the one hand, right, we've got this fear of the unknown. We've got the fear of the uncertainty, which is what's going to happen, don't know. What's going to happen with my business, don't know. What's going to happen, we don't know, right? But there's something really powerful in not knowing. Because in the not knowing, there is an opportunity for us to actually come up with something known. So in other words, I call it the fertile void, whereby when we don't know, there is so much newness that can come from that. Now, in practical terms, because I might be talking like a bit like meta in that sense of like, whoa, what does that even mean? Well, I'll give you an example. So I did not know that before this lockdown, I was going to generate what I've generated. In other words, the Facebook group that I now have, this opportunity that came up with Ali. I didn't know that this was going to happen before the lockdown. I had no idea that was going to happen. I had no idea that the lockdown was going to happen. I had no idea that I was going to create a podcast, for example. That wasn't before the lockdown, but these creative ideas show up in the fertile void. Suddenly we're drawn to doing something. Suddenly and I'm sure Ali can resonate with this, is like, I'm sure before lockdown, you didn't know about lockdown, right? And you're like, oh crap, now we're on lockdown. What the hell are we going to do with all of our meetings? Well, guess what? You found a creative solution. Online, great. We still can get our members together. And actually, what can happen is all of our members now can actually really benefit. And we can get everybody together, not just, down in Malaga or whatever. We've got entire Spain that we can share and connect. So it's amazing to me how creative we can be. And the thing is this, creativity is nurtured in the unknown. Like, imagine, for example, the analogy I use is a blank sheet of paper. You don't know what you're going to do on that blank sheet of paper until an idea show up. I'm gonna use what Leo's just done this morning. So he's drawn a little flower here, right? That was a blank sheet of paper beforehand, and then I don't know what this is. It looks like a robot, and so he had no idea what he was going to draw on that blank piece of paper, but something occurred to him and he drew it. And that is how we create. That is how we create. So everybody that will be listening to this, I'm assuming has work or business. And the thing is, your business came from the same canvas, came from a blank sheet. You then had an idea, you're like, ooh, I'm drawn to doing that. Ooh, okay, let me create. And then you took a step, and then it became manifest. Now, this is actually how we are born. And as women, we know this better than anyone, especially mothers. But everybody was created in the same way. You were once an idea, your parents had an idea about having a child. Okay, so you were once an idea. Leo was once an idea. And then we did something. And something else happened, and then he was birthed, and then he was born, and he came into this world. We are born to create. Even the very nature of how we come into this world is through creation. So it was unknown to me that I would birth Leo before I knew that he was going to come into this world. So we live in the unknown. We just think we don't. So we have all of these plans, and tomorrow I'm going to be doing this, and tomorrow I'm going to be doing that, and we put it in our calendars, right? But if we really take a moment to reflect, that meeting that we're putting into our calendar wasn't planned maybe 4 days before. It just sort of happened. So it's interesting to me because uncertainty is actually an amazing time for creativity. It's an amazing opportunity for us to create. It's an amazing time for us to experiment. It's an amazing time for us. And when we navigate it with grace and wisdom, we will know what to do next. We're doing whatever makes sense to us. So, for example, I reached out to Ali. That just made sense to me. I already had a connection with Ali, and I thought, well, actually, this might be useful to some of her members. And so we already connected. And as a result of that connection, here I am doing this. But you'll have your own version of that, right? You'll have your own version of whatever that looks like for you. So there's nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear because actually we're crap at predicting the future. So we think we're great at it, by the way. And we create all these scenarios and stories about what's going to happen in the future and you know, how awful it's going to be or how wonderful it's going to be, but we have no idea. In fact, the future is an incomplete equation. But most of the time we make decisions based on the future or based on our past. In actual fact, future predictions are usually based on past experiences. So I know because I see it with my clients or potential clients, right? They come to me, we have a conversation, and then they make a decision based on something that hasn't happened yet, which is, I don't have the money right now, for example, but they have no idea whether over time they'll make that money and have it come back. So we make these decisions based on something that we currently don't have, not understanding that in actual fact the next day something might happen for it to shift. So we're really crap at foretelling the future. So the great thing is we do really well in the now, right here, right now, in this present moment, because we can respond to our experiences so much better that way, and we're built for it. So I'm going to give you an example of that. I spoke to a guy in Dubai who runs a dojo. Well, he used to actually. He had something called Warrior Academy, and he had dojos all in the UK and in Dubai. He had to shut them all down. So now, in that moment, he could have gone, well, goodbye to my business, done. Or he did what he did, which is in 2 weeks, he shifted everything online. He's now serving all of his members still, and he's making an income. So what I saw in that wasn't, I mean, it's obvious most people are taking their stuff online, right? Because what else is there to do? But what I saw in that story for him was that he was like, okay, it was how grounded he was in that experience, right? He saw this as like, okay, so this is going on. What creative ideas can I come up with What solution? Because here's the thing, there's always a solution. The number one thing that stops us from seeing the solution is the stress and the overwhelm. So what he did was incredible. Like, he literally went over, in 2 weeks. I mean, he lost 500,000, right? Over to, he was going to be paid by all the members, and suddenly that all the members just was like, well, I don't know what we're paying for. And he was like, okay, well, I'm going to create something that that will help. But loads of other business had to close down, or did they? Or did they? I bet you that the reason why they closed down was because they were so stuck in that overwhelm and stress that they could not see an answer. So I'm going to share a little story about that might resonate. So I was sitting in Madrid Atocha, waiting for my train to go back to Valencia, and I'd gone on holiday with my husband at the time, and we were taking a train from Madrid to Valencia to see our son, to go and pick him up from grandma. And I was sitting there checking Facebook, and I hear in the background, I'm going to go to the train. I'm like, all right, see you later. And thinking that I had more than enough time. And when I looked up, I was like, oh crap, I've only got 5 minutes left. So I got up and I went to the train platform. By this point, I was like, oh my God, I'm running out of time. Oh my God, oh my God. And so I started, I don't know if any of you can resonate with this, feeling the pressure, right, of my thinking, going, oh my God, 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 I'm going to miss the train. I can't find the platform. I thought I knew where it was. Don't know. Anyway, I got to the platform and I can't find my ticket. So I'm looking through my phone and I can't find the ticket, can't find my ticket. My head's full. I phone my husband. I'm like, I can't find my ticket. And he's like, I'm already on the platform. I'm going to go. And I'm like, no, don't go. Oh my God, you're leaving me, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, look, it has to be in your email. They sent it to you. I don't know where it is. I'm going to have to go. So basically, he goes into the train and I miss the train. I couldn't find the ticket. So I'm there scrolling, and at this point I'm crying, and I've got, my mascaras are running down my face, and it's one big drama. Anyway, I kind of go, okay, I've missed the train. Let me accept that. I've missed it. Okay, what do I need to do next? Okay, I need to go back to the ticket desk and see if they can just renew my ticket, get me on another train. So I get into the ticket office, and I'm sitting there, and my head starts to calm down all on its own, because it does that. And I go, one more time, and I'm scrolling, and there it is, that just the email pops up. Now, chances are that the email was there all the time. But I was so stressed and so overwhelmed that I couldn't see it. We don't do very well in that reality. We're not very creative in that reality. We don't do well when we're not in the present moment. And if you're wondering, well, how do I get into the present moment more of the time? Well, it's not really a how to. It's just an understanding of that we are actually our true being is in the state of meditation all of the time. We don't need to practice meditation to be in the state of meditation, because the state of meditation is actually who we are. But it just gets clouded from time to time, just like the sun behind the clouds. And so that's been very useful for me to realize that I don't need necessarily to do anything. We have a psychological system that works all on its own, and that does the pressure thing, and then it just calms down on its own again. That's all it's doing. I like to listen to recordings. I also like to take my dog for a walk. You'll have your own thing, like making a cup of tea. Sometimes it will occur to you. But here's the thing, wisdom has a wonderful way of nudging us in the direction that we need to go. But too often we get too scared to do it. Too often we listen to this thing here versus this thing over here. But this thing over here is actually a really good judge of what to do. This up here, not so much. And so when we live in this place, it's a lot easier for us to navigate through the chaos, because this will tell us where we need to go, what we need to do, who we need to reach out to, um, in ways that we were quite unexpected. I'll give you another example. So I spoke at a gala for a group called Mums Unlimited in the UK last year. Oh yes, and I'd connected with Debbie, and I'd written my book, The Joy of Being, and I was like, well, maybe she be an amazing resource for her mums. So maybe she could just gift it to them and so forth. Anyway, we were just chatting away about the gala, and it just suddenly occurred to me. I said, well, do you have any speakers? She goes, no. And I said, well, would you be open to me doing a talk there? And she was like, yes, absolutely. That would be amazing. So I went, I sold some books, I created 2 clients from it. So I didn't know that I was going to do that. It just occurred to me in the moment just to ask that question. And so we respond very well to now response. It just occurs to you, just ask that question. But I'm going to give you another example of how it can manifest and for us to completely ignore it. So about 5 years ago now, I was in London and I saw that there was going to be a relationship conference. And at the time I was helping women recover from divorce and breakups and so forth. And I'd written a book called Goodbye, Mr. X. And I got really in my head about it. My ego was like not having a great time that I hadn't been invited to this talk. Does he not know that I am this expert? And does he not know that, why hasn't he invited me? And my husband kept saying to me, look, Marina, I would look at this. This is really perfect for you. And I was like, nah, he hasn't asked me to be, or is it just me? I'm the only person that does this. So anyway, a week later, I was like, let me see if he needs any sponsors. Maybe that. So I called and I said, okay, look, I'd really like to know if you're looking for any speakers. Like, we've got all the speakers already, but there is a sponsor slot. And I thought, you know what? Okay, I've got a book called Goodbye, Mr. X. I'm sure that it will help any women that are there that need that extra boost. Okay, I'm going to do it. And then in that moment, what happened is I heard the voice, and the voice said, ask him, tell him that you're available if any of the speakers should drop out. And then I heard the other voice, which was like, oh, don't be stupid. That's just such a stupid idea. Don't bother with that. And so I listened to the second voice instead of the first one. Anyway, I got there on that day, and he then shares with me. I said, so how's it all going? And he says, fine, but one of our speakers has dropped out. She's ill. And in that moment, I went, well, I'm more than happy to step in if you like. And he was like, really? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do that. And he said, great. So I could have listened to the ego voice that was going, well, why didn't he ask me? Instead of actually going, actually, maybe that's not even occurred to him, and that's okay. So I got to do that speaking slot, actually the sponsorship slot, which is also another speaking slot. And from that, I got a couple of clients. So I hope that what I've shared today has been useful. But I do know that each and every one of us has this capacity to listen and tune into that wisdom that's inside of us. One last thing I want to share that I think is actually really relevant to this conversation is that we're made of it. It's not just a great idea. When I was pregnant with Leo, I had this moment where I had this sense of, hang on a second, like, what is creating Leo? Well, I'm not creating Leo. Like, I'm just going around my business doing whatever I need to do. But something inside is creating him. Like, I'm just breathing, eating, doing the things that I usually do. But there is a force that's creating his toes, his ears, his mouth, his nose, all of that's going on. And I didn't even have to think about it. And I got curious about that. And I suddenly had this thought, which was this new thought that popped into my head, which was, oh, It's not me that's creating Leo. It's energy that's creating Leo. Oh my God, that same energy has created me. Oh, and then that's when I saw it, that we are actually all one. And that's when I saw that it's the same energy that created everything, the dog, the cat, nature, everything, because it's all born in the same way. And that's why they talk about creative energy. You know, call it what you will, God, intelligence, creative energy. And I was like, oh, okay, right. So that intelligence that created my son is what created you and me. So we can't deny the fact that we are actually made of intelligence. You only need to look at nature for that. You know, there's an amazing fish that spends like an entire week creating a mandala in the sand, um, to bring in a mate. I mean, what is doing that? You know, what is doing the creating? What is doing the amazing ideas that we come up with? I mean, if you look around you only to see, like, everything that's in your home was once an idea. It was once an idea. You know, this book was once an idea. So we're really good at coming up with ideas. The question is, which ones do we follow and which ones don't we? Well, the clues are usually in the nudges. Usually the clues are in listening. Where does your energy want to go? Where does it want to what's it being drawn to? These are just some of the questions I ask my clients usually is, where does your energy want to go? Where's your energy being drawn to? What are you curious about? What would you love to explore? What makes the most sense for you right now to do? What's one step that you can take, that makes sense for you right now? And those questions usually actually kind of give us a sense of where wisdom wants to take us, versus this thing up here, which hijacks us most of the time. So I hope that was useful. I don't know if there are any questions that you'd like to ask. As you can see, my son has appeared. And but anyway, what I wanted to share is this: if you want to get in contact with me and you'd like to be able, you know, and if you are feeling a little bit creatively stuck, and you are feeling stressed and overwhelmed by this experience, and you're not really knowing where to go, and you want to actually navigate your life more through this intelligence that has got your back and want to know more about that, then come and join either my Facebook group, which is called the Breathing Space for Mamas, or send me a personal message on Facebook, and come and, yeah, I'm offering creative slots, so be lovely to have you.